I saw a tweet yesterday. The first line was, "He is so dumb." Then there was a blank line. And then after that was, "He is so dumb that you know who I'm talking about without even having to name him."
Never forget that you have the tools to build a life on your own terms. Forget the haters. This is FounderQuest.
Did you prefer Voltron over Transformers? Which team are you on?
I guess I did, because I don't remember watching much in the way of Transformers, but I did watch a lot of Voltron, so.
Oh, really? That's a shame. Transformers were great.
I like the name Voltron better. Voltron's a pretty good name.
Well, I mean, can we all just agree that the GoBots just suck? Let's just all agree to hate the GoBots.
But I think that perhaps Thundercats were better than both Voltron and Transformers.
100%. Thundercats for life.
Are we the Thundercats of air trackers?
Honey badgers, go!
I don't think a honey badger is technically a cat.
I decided to try out Animal Crossing this morning.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Good. How do you like it? I've been playing it too.
Well, it's not very exciting. It's a very slow paced kind of thing. And that's, that's the goal. I mean, that's the point, right? And I was like, yeah, I'll check this out. Maybe it'll help me relax. And I'm like, now what do I do? Now what do I do? Now what do I do? I'm like, this is not helping me relax.
Oh, yeah. It is kind of a bunch of tasks.
That's maybe not for everyone.
Yeah.
But you do get to a point where you can kind of just like goof around. Like the first, like I got it and then I played like 20 minutes every 3 days or something for a couple of weeks. Just because I was like, I don't know if I want to go gather this wood right now. But then like you get over a hump and then you can kind of, it's more of an open world and you can kind of just, sort of make it your own.
I think part of my problem was like my son's been playing it for a while now. And like he's got this nice house, all this cool stuff in it. And I show up and I'm like, I got a tent. I'm like, oh, I want a nice house.
Gotta put the work in. Gotta put the time in. He plays Minecraft too, doesn't he? Or did?
Used to, yeah.
Okay. Did you ever play that with him?
Yep. Yeah, and they totally eclipsed me. Like it was no contest. I got 2 blocks together and they've got the Taj Mahal. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Everybody gives Tom Nook such a hard time for being such a capitalist, but I'm just saying, like, I want a house loan with no interest and no like payback schedule, and I can pay it off reasonably with a couple hours work, like gathering like nuts and berries.
Yeah, I started playing this morning because I read an article in The Atlantic about the game, and I really enjoyed one of the angles of the article was like, maybe this is an indication of where we can take our society, where people are doing the things they want to do, but not under the pressure of having to pay back a usurious mortgage and all this kind of stuff. And I was like,
Everyone has their own island where they live with a bunch of artificially intelligent like NPCs. And we can occasionally visit, but we don't, it's rare.
If you save up your Nook Miles tickets, you can like get if you save up your Nook Miles, you can buy a ticket to an island that's covered in spiders.
Ooh. Well, yeah, I read that those spiders are actually, that's the way you make the real bucks. You collect those tarantulas, right?
Well, I mean, there's like the real spider island. So I looked into this. There's the real spider island, which is just a thing in the game. And then you can, for a while, there's a bug in the game, like a bug. I get it. Yeah. Where you could force tarantulas to like spawn infinitely, but they kind of did a patch that it didn't get rid of it entirely, but it kind of made it less like game breaking.
It's cool.
Fun.
So
maybe I'll report back in a week or so and be like, I love this game. And I won't be able to work for a month because I'll be playing Animal Crossing. We'll see.
Maybe it's really a metaphor for like reality.
It's the world we wish we lived in.
I wish I could spawn like tarantulas at will. That would be a pretty cool, that
would be pretty cool
defense mechanism.
Yeah, if that one doesn't work for you, like I'm telling you, like Stardew Valley might be more your jam too.
I've heard that one's really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that I'm supposed to avoid Factorio at all costs.
I don't even know what that is.
Apparently, it's a really addictive game. And I don't know much about it because I've avoided it.
I don't know. It's where you like you like take like one number and you multiply it by itself minus 1, and then you just keep doing that.
The game goes really quickly in Elixir.
It's just a pen. It's a pen and paper. Yeah. I don't have the attention span for these games anymore. Like, that's why I just play like first person shooters, just mayhem for 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'm done.
You just want to get your Twitch on and then get back to real life.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I wish I could get in. Like, it's rare that I get like immersed in a game like that. Occasionally, I guess one will come along, but it hasn't happened for a while. Except for like Ruby programming. I think that's really what ruined. I mean, developing kind of ruined everything for me, because that's like, I don't know.
You know what? When you said that, I just realized like Ruby is the Animal Crossing of the programming world.
Is it?
Like,
It's true.
yeah. Yeah. If Ruby was a game, it would be Animal Crossing, which is kind of nice. So what are we talking about today?
Talking about Animal Crossing. Since we talked about Hey in our last episode, but we didn't get around to talking about the back end of how we're actually doing Hey. I thought that'd be kind of fun to talk about, because it was kind of fun to build.
Wait, what do you mean like how we're doing the back end? Because I thought it was like an open source project that you installed in your own app and everything. So what sort of back end would that be?
Well, we have to have a website to tell people about it. And then we have to have a way to take people's money, because we're actually selling licenses.
Well, I mean, we don't technically, they give us their money. Like, we don't take it.
Well,
they give it to us.
It's kind of like Tom Nook. Yeah.
Like, we're not, we make them an offer they can't refuse.
We're not going to force you to pay us, but
I mean, full transparency, we haven't taken anyone's money yet.
that's true.
We're hoping to. This is all very much an experiment, but it's, I think we have some cool infrastructure that,
But there is the final part after the money part, which sometimes the money is zero. Then we generate a license, because we want to try out this prosperity license approach where we send out this open source into the world, but we also want to see if it's sustainable by selling licenses to it. So for people who are just starting out, we do that $0 price where they can enter a coupon code and get a license for free. So there's the website, there's the selling the thing, and then there's the delivering the thing, the license.
And we have had a few people request the small business license, which is what has so far been exercising this system. We're using kind of it's a commercial open source license called the Prosperity Public License. And what it is it's a free license for open source for nonprofit use, like non-commercial use, with a 30-day trial for all other commercial use. So the source is completely open, which is where the open source comes from. But if you want to use it commercially, you can use it for 30 days, after which you need to buy a license for it, like a commercial license.
So optimistically speaking, we are still in the 30-day license trial period.
Yes.
Since we only launched a week ago, right?
So
who knows? 3 weeks from now, we could have a bunch of people throwing a bunch of money at us because they love it so much.
You might be a little bit more optimistic than I am on that one. But that said, we have had some pretty good interest and feedback in it. Like, people seem to like it. So, this is our first time ever doing like an open source commercial thing. And it's very much like we're kind of throwing it out there, see what happens, and you see what we can learn.
Have we learned anything from the feedback that was interesting or surprising or anything like that?
Not so far. I mean, like, the feedback so far is kind of like, that's really cool. I'm going to try it out. It's, it's been out like a week or so. And
okay, that's the first step.
Yeah, but the source is available. So like, yeah, anyone who wants to can go and try it. Like, it's completely, there's no limits or anything in it without a license. It's basically just, it'll put out a warning that says it's not licensed.
I've had a few people on Twitter say, oh, this is the same thing I was going to do, or same thing I did. And so they're pretty excited about not having to do that work. So time-saving measure for sure.
Yeah. You mean the sending email sequence
right
in Rails thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it'll definitely get some users. I don't know how many, because of course, like, for an open source library like this to actually, like, make any money, it has to have a large enough base of people trying it out, and then a certain percentage of those people are going to actually pay for it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, we talked about the other model we were considering was like the open core, like, Sidekick type model, which is where you would have like a true free open source core version of it that anyone can use, commercial or non, and then have like a pro or like, an advanced version that you sell a license for that you have to buy. And the benefit of that is just that you get a much larger user base, in the beginning, because a lot more people are probably willing to use it, like deploy it to their apps or production or whatever, if there's like no commitment or if it's true open source in the beginning. So this is much more of a, you have to actually like sell this because you only have 30 days to use it if you're a company or whatever. So
was that kind of intentional? Because I don't know, were you trying to, I imagine that if you did like an open core, there might be like a burst of work at the beginning. It's like all these people who are free open source users were like, hey, like you should do this, you should do that, whatever. Were you trying to like, was it intentional to not do it open core so you could sort of rate limit the amount of work you have to do?
That wasn't like the primary thing, but that plays into it a little bit. I definitely did, like Ben and I definitely had conversations about like even doing this at all, because I didn't want to like create a bunch of work for myself right now. So this is very much is a side project. Like been doing this in my spare time. But yeah, well, I mean, we talked about both models. I'm really interested in this model because I like the idea of not having to like put a bunch of work into like, the whatever the open core version. Like if I could focus all of my work on stuff that is actually paying, I like the idea of that. And we talked about how this like, we could easily go from this model to an open core model in the future. But it would have been much harder to like go from an open core or even just like an open source model and go back to like, a paid model. So like basically if we had released this code under like, a more permissive open source license, it would be much harder and people probably would complain a lot more about it if we, then walked it back to some sort of more restrictive license. So we figured, there's not much harm in trying out this new license and just see how it works. But that said, like this license, like there's a lot fewer, like there's not that many people using this approach. There's a few, like for instance, Dependabot, which was recently acquired by GitHub, uses this license. But, there's not a lot of data out there on like how this works, how this business model with this license works. So I think there's a lot to learn. And I suspect that, this might be more of a longer play. Like this might be the kind of thing that we need to keep building building on it over time, and give it a chance for people to like see it mature a little bit before it might have like any kind of major adoption.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can I ask you like a technical question?
Sure.
Like I've always wondered about this. Like when people do libraries that are this sort of like open source, but you have to have a license key. How does that work? Like how does the license key thing work?
So we sub-licensed some code that we got from GitLab, which is an open core model, but they use this licensing code that they wrote. They use it, I believe, to handle their the license for like their, what do they call it, Ben? It's the paid version.
Yeah, their self-hosted version has a variety has like 4 different levels, I think.
Yeah.
And you unlock different features based on which level you get. Yeah. And so they delivered you a license file that once you add it to the GitLab installation, it then unlocks those features based on whatever license gives you permission to use.
Right. Yeah. And this license is based on a public key generation, right? So yeah. So like, we generate a private key and we sign this license file and give it to the person. And then the public key is basically embedded in the gem itself, which is how the gem knows that the license is valid.
Okay, that makes sense. To some degree, though, it's sort of based on the honor system, though, because you could always go in and, since it's open source, you could go in and like remove the license check or whatever.
Open source in Ruby. Yeah, like it's very, very much the honor system. It's, pretty much one monkey patch would turn the entire thing off at this point. So yeah, it's
okay. I don't know. It would be a funny, like, smartass thing to do. Like, it's probably not a good business decision, but I'd be very tempted to ship it with like where it's like your license key is a YAML file or something that just like has one field that's like has a license. True.
Yeah,
it's not far from the truth about what it actually is. Mm-hmm. The license file has like your company name and it has the limit of users you can have, since we decided to tier on that. But yeah, it's a very simple YAML file that is just signed with the private key. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably down the line, though, you want to, there would be a little bit more, I don't know, sophistication. Or not sophistication, just like it doesn't make sense to be super protective of this new thing. It's like we don't really know if people want to steal it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the honor system. It worked well when I did the Rails kits because people would buy a license and they would get all the code, and there was nothing really stopping them from reusing it as much as they wanted or even distributing it.
Yeah, and Rails kits was like, what do you have? You had like a pre-built. I know you had a help desk because I helped work on that a long time ago, and other like an e-commerce storefront written in Rails and stuff like that, and people just modified them.
Yeah, and so that worked out, and people would come back and buy additional licenses when they wanted to deploy it on additional sites. So I mean, I'm sure there was some cheating. I mean, I'm not that naive, but it worked out.
I mean, it seems like you're always going to have cheaters. I mean, unless you're like distributing some sort of binary or like something that's like, people can't crack, which there's always going to be someone who figures out how to crack it, like no matter what it is, it seems. But like Sidekick or GitLab or anything else that is, closed source, but you still have to pay for it to get the pro version, like you're still getting that code, aren't you? I mean, that's how that works. I mean, like there's no way to hide what Ruby is once you have it. So
right.
Yeah.
The whole idea that we had while working on this project was to do the minimal amount of effort to get something out the door where we could see, test the market and see if it would be successful at all.
Yeah.
And so the license generation was one of those things like, oh yeah, we know that GitLab does something like that. Let's see what they do. Oh, okay. They have this little gem and then let's use that.
Yeah. So it was just like basically like, how can, what's like a little roadblock we can put in to like prompt people to respect the license? Because really like, the license itself is the thing. We could say like, you don't need a license. It's just completely honor system. If you use this for longer than 30 days, we won't know, but you will. And you'll feel really bad about it. We're not quite that optimistic. I don't think we believe in humanity quite that much. There's a lot of people who probably would still pay under that model, but there's a good chance that they would just forget if they, if you drop it into your app and figure, I'll try this for 30 days. Like if it's working, hopefully you're not going to have to think about it as much. I probably would forget in a lot of cases to go back and be like, oh, I need to like get a license. And then I need to remember to renew that license in some way.
I guess the renewal is probably a big reason to have an actual sort of licensing system.
Right.
To remind you need to spit out those warnings.
Yeah. So these warnings, prints them out. And then, when the license expires, it prompts you, it reminds you and gives you the link again. So it's very simple.
So when this thing takes off, right, and we really need to lock it down because we're losing tons of money through piracy, I've got this really good idea for how we could do that, which is instead of distributing this code, we could have a computer and we could just run the code on our computer and then people could access it through the internet.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
That was a terrible joke. I'm sorry.
Look into that, see how that works. So part of what we decided to do to get this out the door as quickly as possible was we decided that as much as we like building things, we just didn't want to build a storefront, right? So Josh decided to go with Gumroad to actually sell this. So
which was awesome.
Think, Josh? Would you recommend that?
I set it up in 3 minutes or something. Yeah, I mean, it was very, very simple. And they actually have software licensing built into Gumroad now, which is kind of cool. I didn't know about that. You were sending me some documentation and stuff. We ultimately decided to use our approach because their approach is I think you have to use their API to verify the license remotely. And we didn't really want to be pinging Gumroad on every every time you boot your app or something. But yeah, I mean, for some cases, I mean, even that, it seems like you get pretty far with just Gumroad, which, gives someone a link to buy, and then it handles the checkout process and everything.
Yeah. So one thing we didn't do initially, since we're not using Gumroad's licensing stuff, we were using our own. We do have to generate a license when a purchase comes through. And so at first we just got Gumroad's email, and then we went and, went to our console and generated it. But we got tired of that after the first person was we should probably do something about this. So I threw together a quick little Lambda function.
I love it. This is the most programming thing ever. I got tired of it after the first one. So I made a Lambda function. That's great.
Yeah. So Gumroad thankfully has what they call pings. They're webhooks that send you payload when a sale happens. And so it was pretty easy to throw together a quick little Lambda function that has a web endpoint that uses our licensing code, generates a license, and sends an email to the person with the license file.
The key thing there, though, is that we didn't build the Lambda function first because that would have been insane. Not knowing how, we're not getting many sales now, but I think this is something we talked about. It's a little bit of code and it was fun, I assume, for you to build it. But yeah, we started out, it was just, we use a Help Scout for our support at Honey Badger. So we created a separate, just another mailbox called Heya and had the Gumroad emails go there basically so that we could just generate one if there was a sale. So we did that. And then, and then we automated it. I think we're probably going to be releasing this Lambda and licensing code in some fashion, open source as well. Because I think it's really cool. I don't know how many lines of code between the Ruby licensing code and the Lambda code, but put Gumroad in the middle of that, and you pretty much have you could, anyone could recreate this with their library, that's pretty cool, I think. So.
Yeah, we've had a few people mention that they were interested in trying out a similar kind of thing where they want to sell their gem or sell their code. And so, yeah, I think it would be fun to put out this thing that people could use. And maybe if there's enough interest, we can have other entryways into it. Like we could have a Shopify hook or maybe a Stripe hook as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess people should ping us on Twitter if you're interested in having some sort of thing that can do licensing generation for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking whenever I get around to it, it's been on my kind of long-term to-do list is to extract the licensing code to some gem or something that other people could use basically. And yeah, we should probably do the same thing, throw that Lambda code on a repo at the very least.
Is that the real product here, or are we going to end up launching a
it could be.
As a service?
It could be. We don't. It seems like that's how this kind of thing could work because these are much smaller plays. It's not like we're not building a SaaS for 6 months and just have to make that go. So I kind of like this model of we can build. Basically just open sourcing the tools that you regularly use that you've built, even the small ones, and then just see what sticks. Basically, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
So I was impressed, Josh, when you set up the sales site. Instead of just doing a plain old, just a web page, you actually put it up on a Heroku dyno so that you could actually demo with people coming in. So
yeah,
people can literally subscribe to your thing.
That's the other insanity of this project is, it's probably a little overkill, but instead of doing a static site or something, the sales site is a fairly boilerplate, just Rails app that I generated that has Heya built into it. That? You can find it on our GitHub repo. Actually, you can, if you go to heya.email, that is the sales site. There's a link to it, and you can sign up for a real-time demo of Heya because the site is running Heya to basically send a drip email campaign that you can sign up for. So it's a little meta, but
is it a drip email campaign for Heya?
It is.
Why people should buy it?
Yes.
Oh, that's genius.
Yeah. So and then I think brilliant. If you go there's a link to the repo that generates the campaign, so you can go look at the Ruby code that basically sends the campaign that you're getting. So
and shout out to MVP.css. That was just so easy.
What's going on with that? So you all have been talking about how you really have been enjoying that. So what is that?
Initially, the site, I basically generated this Rails app, generated this little campaign. It's a very simple app. It's got one, I don't know, controller scaffold or something basically. And the homepage is actually just the new action of a user. So you can, when you sign up, you're basically creating a user in a Rails app. But I wrote some content for the site one weekend or something and just threw it in there, basically just raw HTML, no styling. My plan was basically just to leave it like that. I was just going to launch it with just basically completely unstyled. And I mean, the content was it's I don't know, you can go read it. It's kind of it's different. It's got some
fun
GIFs and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I was gonna be super, I don't know, web 1.0 hipster and just not style it at all. But Ben found this new CSS framework called MVP CSS, which basically it runs completely off of HTML elements. So basically, you just write HTML in a certain way, and it styles your page to look like a landing page, right? Basically, is that the gist of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not necessarily even like a general purpose like CSS reset. It's like specifically for making things that look like product pages.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's so that you know, if you're like us, you're trying out this little thing and you don't want to put a lot of work into it, you can have something that doesn't look like, you know, just a plain old page from 1994.
There will be like 2 people that that actually get it.
Right.
They're like,
Right.
this is awesome. Everyone's else like, where the hell is the style sheet not loading?
Right.
So I've got a question for y'all. So MVP, does that stand for minimum viable product or most valuable player?
We know the
Both.
NFL draft was yesterday, so I guess it could be either today.
There you go. I just think MVP should like steal that for their tagline.
Meaning that the CSS is the most valuable player on your team.
Yeah.
Totally. So it's been a fun project.
So where do we go from here?
Wow. Immediately I thought of Pinky and the Brain. What are we doing tonight, Brain? When you said that.
Same thing we're always
when you said that.
doing.
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. So I guess that's the next thing we're doing. We try to take over the world.
Do we have to leave our houses for that? Because that's a big no-no right now.
I suppose not. We can do it from the comfort of our couch.
Well,
Okay, we can hack the planet.
I think Ben's
I think-
talking about taking over the world of Animal Crossing. I'm pretty sure
Right.
he's gonna unseat Tom Nook.
I think the next thing for us for Heya is see if there's actual interest, like see if people want to use it and come up with any feature requests, and also see if we have any things that we want to do to it.
Yeah.
But, I think it's kind of
That's my plan. There's a number of things that I'd like to ideas I have for it and things that it's still like a hobby project for me. So I have some things that I'll get to eventually. Even if no one uses it, like we're still using it. Yeah. But I think it's gotten a pretty good response. And yeah, like long term, my plan is like the plan for Heya always was to pretty much replace intercom for us. And that's still my plan is like, I think there's a lot more intercom like things that we could, that I could add to it for it to do more. There's things that we are still working on. So yeah.
Well, awesome. And I'm sure as like this progresses and we learn more, we'll sort of keep people up to date as people follow along at home. All right. Is there anything else we'd like to mention about Heya?
No.
No? Yeah, I'm sick of talking about that.
Back to error tracking for me.
Back to the old diamond mine.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up then. This has been FounderQuest. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate us on Apple Podcasts. If you want to write for us, we have, we're hiring people to write blog posts for Ruby and Elixir and stuff like that. So just take a look at our blog at honeybadger.io and look for the link Write for Us in the header and do that. And yeah, so see y'all later, I guess.
FounderQuest is a weekly podcast by the founders of Honey Badger. Zero instrumentation, 360-degree coverage of errors, outages, and service degradations for your web apps. If you have a web app, you need it. Available at honeybadger.io. Want more from the founders? Go to FounderQuestPodcast.com. That's one word. You can access our huge back catalog or sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive VIP content. FounderQuest is available on iTunes, Spotify, and other purveyors of fine podcasts. We'll see you next week.